Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk, and in today's episode we're going to be breaking down and reviewing The Flash Season 5 Episode 3, otherwise entitled The Death of Vibe, so let's jump into it. Also, if you've not seen this episode, be sure to go watch it and come back later as this is going to be filled with spoilers. So episode 3 starts out with an amazing flashback sequence where we see a young, well this is technically still a flash forward, but a flashback for Nora, where we actually see her walking around the Flash Museum. This is amazing, like this is such a cool scene just to walk around the Flash Museum. You have all these different props that the prop team have gotten back out, like the Savitar suit was there, Reverse Flash was there, and this basically is a setup for a scene that we get where Nora basically tells our team that Cicada is a villain that is so terrifying because they never catch him. They were never able to catch Cicada. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows where he came from. He is a complete mystery, even in the future where she's from. And she even does a very awesome Justice League name drop when she says, the Legends tried, Supergirl tried, the League tried, and even Green Arrow tried, and just, she gave all these different names, but she even name dropped the Justice League, which is really cool. But it really demonstrates this Cicada guy is really powerful and kind of OP, and we actually see that later on. Also, this is the introduction of the new Harrison Wells we're getting this season, and we see they're trying to recruit a new Wells, and at first we actually get Wolfgang Wells back from the Council of Wells last season. It was really funny to see him back. I loved his interaction with Barry, the fact he was completely starstruck by the Flash. I thought that was so funny, and Harrison Wells, just that version of Wells I thought was really funny last season, and Tom Cavanaugh plays it to a T, but after he goes away, he was not available to use, we got the introduction of Sherlock Wells, who is the French, obviously Sherlock Wells version of Harrison Wells, and this was really hilarious. I think he's a really good introduction, really funny and interesting version of Wells, a very different one to what we've seen before, and I think this is definitely going to be something interesting as the season goes on. I like his interplay with all the other members. I like the fact that you can clearly see at this point he's not completely trustworthy, which is what they've said about him, and also the fact that he's kind of, it makes Ralph feel a bit irrelevant is definitely going to play on later on, so I definitely like the introduction of Sherlock Wells at this point. Also, there is a scene in this episode where we actually see Cicada actually tie up Joe and is trying to get him to give up where Vibe is, because he sees in all these newspaper articles that Vibe and Joe were sort of always together, so he assumes, puts the pieces together, you must know who Vibe is. And this is actually really good because Joe does a really good piece of acting here. Like, Jesse L. Martin was really good in this scene, and again, the intensity was there, the stakes actually felt real. The fact that we had Cicada, torturing Joe with his lightning bolt dagger, that was really cool. And even the way it kind of all evolves with Cecile as well, kind of protecting the baby, and the fact that Joe kind of knows Cecile's behind her. He's like, no, don't do it, that's what he wants, the fact that she read his mind in that sense, that was really clever. But that does evolve obviously into something a bit later on. Now, Caitlin's story this season has been kind of set up in the past couple episodes. Obviously, we know she's going to be delving into her past and also finding out who her father is. And with that, we do get the introduction of her mother, or her reintroduction of her mother. And we also get to see Caitlin actually do some cool work with like some sciencey stuff, which we haven't really seen a lot of. I'm really excited with Caitlin's story just because Caitlin, she's never really gotten a good story. So to actually give her one that's actually interesting, is going to provide a lot of character development and depth for her, is definitely something that her character needs, something that Danielle Panabaker quite frankly deserves after spending 5 years on this show. So I'm really happy where this is going. I really like her in this episode. I like the fact that they paired her up with Ralph as well, because it gives Ralph kind of a story as well. So I like all that, and it's definitely, all the signs are pointing positive. There was a really good conversation in this episode as well between Barry and Nora, where he's basically saying to her, these are all the different things, yeah, you're here, and, you really have messed up a lot of things, you've made a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the day, you are here because you wanted to spend time with me, I'm the father you never had, and you wanted to come back and spend time with me, and yeah, you've made all these mistakes, but it was completely unintentional. Yeah, all these problems have happened because of you, but, you weren't never intended to make them. And it's just one of those nice, like, sort of father-daughter moments that we're getting quite a lot this season, now the fact that Barry and Nora have the chance to spend time with each other, and we get quite a lot of scenes like this now, but again, they're really good, and in my opinion, this scene actually quite shows how far Barry's come since season 1. He was actually acting a lot more this season as a mentor, although I don't think Barry should necessarily be acting as a mentor given his history. He's not a good leader either, really, but I like the fact that he is stepping into that role for his daughter. Now, that scene with Cicada and Joe then evolves into a little bit of a scene where Cecile does call Team Flash, and then Barry and Cisco do show up, and we see Cisco get tackled through the breach he came through in by Cicada, and that was actually a really cool move, and I like the fact that they did that. And this was really awesome because Barry and then Cisco have to go into this forest after he's captured by Cicada, and they have a bit of a fight. This is where this big, Cisco versus Cicada fight comes in. And this was a really cool moment, because they really played up how scary Cicada is, like how intense and frightening he can be, because he's literally stalking Cisco through this forest, and obviously that noise he makes is really terrifying. And even Barry can't work out where he is, and he's trying to figure it all out. And that was really interesting as well. And this leads into a great moment before Nora actually goes to help. She's actually told by Barry later on, or earlier on in the episode I should say, to just stop and slow down before you make any rational decisions. And Nora basically, I think, goes into flash time. I'm pretty sure that's flash time. It looks very similar to flash time. But she looks like she goes into flash time, or at least slows time down, to actually have a moment to think and to realize, and then she puts all these pieces together to work out where Cisco is. Really clever piece of writing, and I like the fact they did that. And again, it shows that Nora is learning, she is adapting, and that was good to see as well. And the overall just Cicada-Cisco fight was really entertaining, and again, intense and well handled. So with this episode obviously being called the Death of Vibe, we were expecting a Death of Vibe in this episode, and we did get that, kind of. There was a moment where Cisco does actually get killed and disintegrated by the kind of, thing that was set up earlier when Sherlock Wells pretended to fake his own death in the beginning of the episode. They throw one of them at Cicada, but Cicada actually reflects it and hits it back onto Cisco, and he disintegrates. But luckily, obviously with Nora thinking out her plan, she gave Cisco a breach to actually escape at the last second, and we actually see that he made it out of there alive. And that was a really good way. I mean, obviously, some people are saying it's a cop-out, some people are saying the title is a bit of a clickbaity thing. I don't think it is necessarily, because it's the Death of Vibe, it doesn't say the death of Cisco. And also, they wouldn't put the death of a major character in the episode title. They just wouldn't do that. It's just, otherwise, what's the point of even making it a surprise? So, I don't think anybody was really expecting Cisco to die in this episode. And even so, the Death of Vibe is still very much true, because it seems like Cisco is still not able to use his powers properly, or maybe not even at all. I don't know if that was made entirely clear what's going on with his powers. I may have missed it. But it was really interesting, though, just to see that this Death of Vibe thing does come up. And we do see that newspaper clipping as well that we saw on Candice Patton's Instagram a while ago that does say Vibe dead on the newspaper thing. So that was quite cool as well. And it was quite a nice way to actually show how Nora has become a lot more logical in these situations. Now, we do see Caitlin's father actually has been watching Caitlin this entire time. He actually watches her figure out the message he left for her. And, you see he's been watching it. He's got cameras in Star Labs. Now, I feel like this is going to be a plot hole that's never going to be resolved, is how did Caitlin's father, Thomas, get into Star Labs? How did he set up all these cameras, and why has nobody noticed? I feel like this is going to be one of those things like the Prometheus breaking into Star Labs thing. Nobody's going to ever... This is never going to come back. Like, I never feel like this is going to be a thing. It's going to be a massive plot hole that's never going to be explained, but obviously this was just more of like a brief setup to let us, the audience, know Thomas Snow is coming to the show. Now, we do get the reveal of Cicada's name in here. His name is Orlan, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's not actually David Hirsch like it is in the comics. David Hirsch is actually a character in this episode, but is actually the wrong person. And it's actually interesting because you hear Sherlock Wells say he's catched Cicada like 36 times, I think he said. And he's saying that, every other time on every other Earth, it was David Hirsch who is Cicada. But because of the timeline change that Nora's caused, it's this version of Cicada. Not only is he early, but he's no longer David Hirsch. So his name is Orlan on this timeline. So that's interesting. We do get his name, and they have separated it from the comics in that way. But also, you do see what's motivating him. Obviously, Joe does have that realization where he says, I looked into his eyes and, he looked like a father. I think Cicada's a father. And you do see that his daughter is in hospital in a coma. And I'm pretty sure the doctor does say that she's not going to come out of the coma. So something's going on with Cicada. Something's going on with him that, is driving him. Obviously, his daughter is his driving force. But what happened to his daughter? We don't find that out. Obviously, we have to assume, based on what he's doing and what his agenda is, that his daughter was massively affected or harmed by what would be a metahuman, be it the satellite incident or any other metahuman who may have attacked them at any point in time. And this is why Cicada, with this new lightning bolt dagger and his powers, is actually going to take out and obviously get rid of all the metahumans in Central City. Obviously, this is something that's very interesting. It is going to add a lot more depth to Cicada. I think Cicada is going to be a very emotionally driven villain, which is something that the Flash has never really done before. So that's going to be really awesome to see. And, just the more I see a Cicada, the more excited I get. And the final little teaser scene at the very end of the episode, we have a conversation between Nora and Sherlock Wells, where basically Sherlock Wells is kind of deducting that Nora, she specifically chose to get involved with the satellite incident. It wasn't the fact that she was just like, oh yeah, let's do this. There was a reason why she got involved at that particular point. There was a reason why at that specific point that she did that. And there's a theory going around that perhaps she was sent at that particular time and told to do that thing by somebody else. The rumor is that Nora is working with somebody else. And there is also another theory that has been floating around for a while, but has been given more justification thanks to this scene, that Nora is actually Eobard Thawne reverse Flash, and it does line up with what when we last saw Eobard Thawne. He said, you know, I wonder what face I'll be wearing next time we meet. And this is very much something that reverse Flash would do. So who knows what's going on with Nora? You know, is it Barry and Iris' daughter? Is it Eobard Thawne? Is she working with somebody else in the future? Who knows? But this was a very intriguing setup, and I like the fact that Sherlock Wells, being the smart guy that he is, was actually able to deduct this. I'm very interested to see where they take this. So what did you guys think about this episode? Make sure you let me know all your thoughts about the death of Vibe in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What were your favourite elements about this episode? Let's have a discussion in the comments. Personally, I thought this was another great episode of Season 5. I think Season 5 has been going really strong. The premiere was great. Episode 2 was really good. And I think this episode is really great as well. I think the stakes actually felt high. And there were some really good character moments in this as well. The action was good. And again, the little teasers and the addition of Sherlock Wells was really good. So I'm definitely excited about more, and I mean the next episode looks pretty insane, so I'm definitely very pleased with what the writers have been doing with the Flash this season, and I think we're in for a very good, strong season. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, it'll help me out a lot, and share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always guys, please subscribe for your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow. And with all that said guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.